think you can just jump and miracles will happen. You need to work hard.
Extraordinary results need extraordinary work.
It is affecting the whole financial system. And that's something that we want.
Yeah. Hello and welcome back to the Masters of Real Estate. This is Nik Shah. Today, I'm very excited. We're going to learn from Tali Gross. Tali, how's it going, buddy?
I'm good. How are you, Nick? Pleasure for having me.
Likewise, it's good to have you. It seems like you're working on a lot of interesting things. But, before we get into all that, people want to know who you are, what you do. So how do you introduce yourself these days?
So first of all, I'm a parent, and above that, I'm a CEO and a co-founder of Dono, a startup that do a huge impact in like the real estate market.
So Tali, seems like you're a parent. You're also running a company. But people really want to know who you are, like what you're like. So what spirit animal or bird best describes you and your life?
Okay, it's a great question, and thank you for the opportunity. I think I will choose a horse, and it's going to be a combination of like two reasons. One is the fact that it's like an animal that can carry very high weights in some way, and working really hard. And on the other hand, it's an animal that knows how to run really fast, not stop. And if I'm thinking about myself, or at least want to think about myself, it's going to be a combination of those two things.
So carry weight, don't slow down. Is that kind of your main operating principle in life?
I think so. Like, I really appreciate hard work. I don't think you can just jump and miracles will happen. You need to work hard, and you need to look forward and chase huge opportunities.
Extraordinary results need extraordinary work. I couldn't agree more. Tali, if you had to pick a single metric to summarize your entire professional journey so far, what would you say that is?
Again, great question. I think the main thing, as much as I see it, that I'm chasing a bigger opportunities. Like, I started with like a small business while I was like a student, and then I finished studies. We established like a startup that we will talk in a few minutes about it. And then we figure out we have even like a bigger opportunity, a massive opportunity that we can chase, and we pivoted. So that's the main thing, like the size of the impact that I'm trying.
The size of the impact. So what is the size of the problems you have or are trying to solve right now?
Again, we'll talk in a minute about it, but what we are trying to change is how people are thinking about the biggest asset class in the world, the real estate market, and the uncertainty that is surrounding those assets today, because there is like a huge uncertainty about property ownership in the United States of America, and how we can change it. And the impact of it is like $1 trillion problem that we're solving, because this uncertainty is affecting the whole financial system. And that's something that we want.
Yeah, seems like you love working on $1 trillion problem. But let's go back into a stage in your life when it was zero, right? Where you were not focused on creating the biggest possible impact. When you look back on your past, what is the broad trajectory that has led you here today?
So it's always a good it's always like a good to start to think where we start. So I always loved to work. As a kid, I sold flowers and progressed there. The main thing is when I became a student, I learned law. And then I established like a small company called Tennis, basically providing fresh juices and many things to people's houses every weekend. It started by myself, and I finished when I had approximately 80 employees in this business. It was a very low tech offline business that's amazing, hard work, like crazy stories, like a car that was stuck in the mud with all of the juices, and many crazy stories that happened there. But it's really, I learned a lot from that. Um, and while I studied law, I figured out in university very quickly that I really don't want to be a lawyer. It's nice to be, it's nice to learn. That's not something that I'm wishing to myself. And when I finished my first year in university, I started to think, what is my next step? What's my plans for the future? And I figured out that like financial market interested me more than the law world in some way. And so I started to send email to partners and VC. I told them, listen, I'm a very smart guy. I want to work really hard. I want to learn. I want to work with you and I don't need any money, kind of like an internship. Just take me. And I sent hundreds of emails. Approximately nobody answered me. And the few that answered me told me, listen, I don't know even what to do with you. And then it was kind of like a miracle, a luck. Somebody called me, told me, listen, I don't have anything to do with you. Let's grab a coffee, come to our office. We will give you some good advices. And this few good advices became to like 4 hours of very interesting conversation. And in the end of those 4 hours, told me, listen, come to work with us. And that's how I started. I started working in a private equity called Catalyst. I was there for a few years, I think 2 approximately. I worked in several things, so private equity, investment banking, finished up trying to build an innovation inside this organization. And then COVID and the world become crazy. And I decided that's like my time to move into my next chapter. And then I joined Harris. Harris is a Canadian company that is buying vertical software companies. And I had the opportunity to manage part of their M&A activity, basically buying companies. And it was an amazing opportunity talking to founders about their business, learn how they think about what they're trying to create and really relate to their big vision and ideas and company. That's on one hand. And on the other hand, as a guy that's looking to buy the company, to put them into metrics and to measure them and to figure out if it's like it's a good deal for us. And it was like a very interesting experience. We acquired successfully a few companies, and I spent there all again like around like 2 years. And then it was like an opportunity. A very good friend of mine called me and told me, listen, Tali, we always talked about doing something together. Let's for once be serious about it, not over like a beer at the night. Let's do it. So both of us our jobs. We took an office with no very defined idea, and we told ourselves we were going to build something and something that is going. And my idea was I had this passion, seniors that are getting in retirement and the pain they're facing. I met it like in firsthand when I worked in kind of like a legal clinic uh, on my studies. Uh, and I told my partner, yeah, listen, there's like this reverse mortgage product that seniors getting in retirement, they have a house, they don't have money. That current financial solution sucks, doesn't suit their needs, and we need to build something new there. And that's how we created 65. Ron, my amazing partner, joined us at this journey, and we become to create a new financial product for American seniors, basically creating them a new source of income, like an additional cash on a monthly basis that is like fully flexible, in under their control in some way. That it was something that's very important. And we had this kind of like crazy vision that we will know how to originate our product in less than 20 minutes. And the product was basically securitizing the property and liquidating their home equity in some way. And one step in the 20 minutes was basically verifying the ownership of the senior that is standing in front of us. And then we figure out that we cannot do it because you need to call a title agent. He will call his production team. It'd be a session of days to weeks, could cost you hundreds of dollars, and it's not going to work. And it's not going to work with us. And we were like shocked from the situation that we're talking about, like the most advanced market in the world. And you need to call someone that is going to dig into papers and figure out what's going on there. And also when he's going to get back to you with an answer, it's not like 100%. It's like he is probably the owner of this house. And we were, oh my God, if that's the situation, first of all, we need to solve it ourselves. And we built kind of like a small technology solution for ourselves. Something that if we will solve, will make a huge impact on the world. And then we decided to pivot it from 65 to Dono to what we're doing today. And what we are coming to do is to solve certainty about ownership on properties in the United States.
Wow. So it seems like you were always hardworking. You sold flowers as a kid. Even in college, when you were studying law, you started your own company and grew it to 80 people. You worked in finance for a few years and M&A for a few more, and eventually started a thesis in the real estate space with your friend. And with that, you realize one of the big problems in America is title search takes a lot of time and costs a lot of money. But you're still able to, but like, how do you still verify if somebody is telling you the right address or not, or whether they're really the owner of the property or not? And that spun out into its own company, which is what you are managing today.
Exactly.
Wow. So what were some of the advices you absorbed from the mentors and parental figures in your life that led you to embrace entrepreneurship and sales from such an early age, like selling flowers when you were young or starting your first opportunity in college itself?
I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. I think it's like it's part of my soul. I have an answer that this might be not a good answer, but I'm thinking about myself, an average guy, not something unique. I'm not gifted in any way. And if I want to succeed, I need to break the boundaries. I need to work really hard, and I need to take myself to do my best I can do. And nothing is gifted. You need to work hard. And maybe part of this understanding that I'm average and still I want to have capabilities, that's what to do more, try more, and so on.
Yeah, I can relate with that. Growing up, I scored in an average percentile, but I knew I was better than that. And it's only in adulthood I realized, I was neurodiverse, and which is why I couldn't score well in standardized tests, but still see things really well. And the need for others to realize my potential is what also helped me launch in college. What was the need from your side?
It's that I want to build something. I want to create something. It's not like honest, that's my perspective. Like that's how I'm feeling that. So it's not like money or those things. It's really the ability to create something. I feel it's like an amazing opportunity that I have to do something on my own.
Absolutely. And seems like after all that, you worked in finance and sourcing deals for which companies to buy for a few years. And seems like your career trajectory was going really well. You wanted to get into finance from law. You had made that successful shift. What motivated you to leave all that behind and start 65, your first company with a friend? That seems like a dramatic shift.
It's a good question again. And I think it's part of, again, that I will always knew that I want to do something on my own. I want to, because eventually when you work in an organization in every kind, you have a place that you need to fit in, and you create, you can create it, but eventually you get hired for like a certain reason. and I wanted to create a reason.
I love that. Uh, have you ever been at a phase in your life, Tali, where you couldn't see the light at the end of the tunnel?
I think that maybe one of the situation was we started 65 and we launched a product and we gained amazing traction. And then interest change and there was like a huge change in the financial market. And we needed to raise more financing, more debt financing, build kind of like a warehouse for our product. And it was like extremely difficult because many property companies crushed and it was like like nothing. We didn't saw anything in the horizon that would be good for us. And we decided to continue to work. And maybe that's the thing. If you are on the field, if you're playing, if you're working, you will have an opportunity. If you will quit and go sit in the chair at the corner, nothing will happen. And when we got stuck with like 65 and new financing and building facility for that and didn't saw any good opportunities and started and continued to work, then we met like the Dono opportunity and understand it's like huge opportunity. And it's crazy because when we decided to pivot it to Dono, we got a huge term sheet, more than like $20 million. And we decided to pass it. We saw a much bigger opportunity.
Wow. And seemed I read a recent announcement recently where you raised a $3.5 million roughly seed round. How was how was the experience of raising 3.5 million and passing a $20 million term sheet?
So no, the 20 mil, just to be 100% transparent, like the $20 million was like a debt financing for the 65 products. And so it wasn't like an equity money. That was the problem that we're facing to solve. Just that to clarify. As for fundraising is always, there is those amazing people that people are dropping their money. I never had this experience. It's always doing a lot of homework, a lot of really deep understanding about what you're trying to create here, and then have endless conversation that most of them will get back to it like a negative answer. Just don't give up.
Hmm. Don't give up. Completely agreed. So, what's your main focus area at Dono these days? And for people who have never heard of Dono and how you are creating a significant change in the verification of property ownership, what should they know about it?
Okay, so maybe I will give, if it's okay, a small introduction about what is the real estate registration and how it works, and then it will be very easy to understand what are we. So when we're talking about the U.S. registration system, we're thinking about a very advanced system, and the situation is not at all. Basically, we're talking about the county level system. We have more than like approximately like 300 or 3,000, sorry, counties, a bit more than that in the United States of America, that every county has the responsibility in some way to manage the local registration. And when I'm talking about the responsibility, so it's kind of like a very low level responsibility. They don't know who owes property. They basically are managing an archive, and every time that a transaction, a mortgage, something happens in the real estate market that you need to document it, you will send it to the county and the county to store it. And they're going to store it, and in 99% of the cases, they're not going even to index this record that you just got. They're going to tag it and the name owned. And then when we have this common situation, when you want to buy the house and you want to verify that the guy that is selling you the house and that you're going to pay a fortune for this property is actually eligible to sell the property, that he's the owner of the house, you figure out that you need to do this crazy investigation to go to the county to collect all of the papers that are related to this certain property. Hopefully, you're not going to miss document. It can happen because the system is so unorganized. And then after you collected all of the records, somebody needs to read all of those hundreds of pages and understand the content of each and every record and how each and every record reflects on the other. And it's like you need to build a crazy map scratch about like the status of the ownership and property. And like most of the people are taking a title company, and the title company is doing this long and manual process that is inaccurate, expensive, takes time. And what we are doing in a sentence is basically automating like this. We know how to collect all of the records in real time. We know how to read them. We know how to understand what is the content of each and every document, what is the context to other, what's the relationship. So we know how to index each and every record really, really good in a super high level. And then we know how to build a story and underwrite the property based on the data that we found and the relationship. So that's what we're coming to do. In a sentence, I'm thinking about it as kind of like a new infrastructure to the real estate, because today there's like basically no infrastructure at all. It's like a crazy situation, and we want to commoditize it. In a single click, you can get all of the information that's super accurate.
Yeah, that sounds incredible. Like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So it seems like every time somebody transacts a property, they're in one of the 3143 counties across the country, 3,143 counties across the country. And the county then takes care of recording the information, but they don't have clear, amazing standards on data collection, data quality management. And title companies charge a fortune every time to get these records and verify them. And it seems like you're using technology to fix all of these problems. If you think about the landscape from a customer here, who is the customer and what pain points are you solving for them?
So when we're thinking about our clients, it's basically every business that the question about property ownership affects their way of doing business. So any type of lender, any type of insurance company, any type of investor, any type of lawyer, basically any type of financial or business entity that is working in the United States is a potential client. With that, we understand that we are a startup, still early in our early days, and we need to focus. And now we're focusing on two main audiences. First is title enterprise companies, meaning title companies, underwriters, production companies, agents, plants, and many more. That they're big, they're massive. We can do a real impact in the organization, and we're working with them. And the other is lenders, most of them home equity lenders, that we help them to originate their loans much faster, to control their portfolio in a much more transparent way, because now they don't have any control.
Yeah, that makes sense. And how do you help your customers, which are anyone who is really working on property ownership, like title companies, underwriters, production companies, agents, home equity lenders? How do you what do you do that separates you from 99% of the rest of the market?
So we know how to do a fully automatically process that takes a fraction of the time, that costs a fraction of the money. And we claim that is much more accurate. You're getting like a much better results compared to anybody else. And that's the thing. All of those title companies, they need to, let's think about it, process the data that is in the public record. We help them to do it in a huge scale. We help them to grow, because now they know, lots of companies, that they cannot grow because they have a limited headcount. And if they know that for every new product that they're selling, they need 2 men in the back office that will support it. So now they know that growing is expensive, and it's like building a huge infrastructure. And that's like a small example that clients that are using us can grow because now they don't have those dependencies. in the ability to process the data because we are doing it with our technology, amazing technology that our R&D team developed.
Yeah, completely agree. It sounds actually too good. So, is there any risk of working with you?
It's always a risk that we will miss a record, that we will misunderstood something. And we're working extremely hard to improve it and to get into perfection. With that, I can calm all of our future clients, that we have like a huge QC that is always reviewing the results and the models, so it can be that we cannot miss anything. Of course, we also have like an insurance for everybody that is still worried.
Makes sense. So, you'll basically hedge the risk by having a massive QC team to make sure data quality is good, plus by a secondary insurance in case there is ever any.
Exactly.
So, Dono seems like an interesting name, and so does 65 and your company before 10A. What is the process you went through to name these companies?
So all of this is Ron, my CTO, gifted with choosing names. Honestly, we don't know why. We're still surprised because it's not his responsibility. He's supposed to write code, and still he is amazing with that. And so 65 is like the retirement age, and we're talking about retirees getting a retirement, and we did like a very consumer name that will be related to retirements. And Dono, sorry, is a landlord in Portuguese, and he knows Portuguese, and it's like a short, catchy name, and we thought it will work.
And what has been your aha moment of scale at Dono?
It's another good question, and thank you. It's endless aha moments. Like you have a curve that is growing, and when you are like getting to the top, you need to create another aha moment and another aha. It's like a never ending aha. It's not like one. People are talking about like product work. Like it's a magical moment that you have it and it's done. So as much as I experience and maybe I'm misunderstanding something, it's endless product market fit chasing. So you closed a huge multi-million-dollar deal with the Fortune 500 company, and you're like on the top of the world. And then 5 minutes after that, you need to figure out what's the next step. Where are you heading next? How are you continuing to grow? How are you chasing massive opportunity in the best ways that suit your strategy, your resources, your continuous growth, and so on?
Hmm. That seems like you're always trying to solve bigger problems and find aha moments in them. But seems like you're also a parent. So how do you balance the demands of you're focusing your time and energy on solving really big problems while also raising a young human being?
Um, my wife. But what I'm trying to do at least is not, I'm picking him like 2 times a week, something like that. And like from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. to be with them, like not to take calls and so on. And then I'm working all day, like from 6 a.m. until I'm picking them up. And then from 7 p.m. until 1 a.m. in the morning, go back to work.
Now, coming to Dono, I'm sure you've thought about the future and how you're going to think about that. So, what's your main aspiration for Dono in the next 12 months?
I will start again big and then talk about like up to the 12 months. So I do believe we have here a rare opportunity to create a huge change in the market, to build a fundamental infrastructure that today is missing. And I don't think many people are facing this opportunity, and I'm glad under my hands. And that's my vision, really, to make a huge change in the financial market when we're creating this certainty about property. Now, as we're focusing on certain industries, we want to be very good in these industries. We want to scale our customer base there. Um, and we're also thinking about like another fundraising in the coming months to really, because we are facing such a huge demand and an amazing traction from like revenue perspective, we feel that we have a real amazing opportunity that we need to chase is, and as much as we will have those resources on the early days, we can create here like something that is massive.
Makes sense. Well, how do you monetize revenue at Dono? What is your monetization model?
So basically now it's like a per call basis. Most of our like enterprise clients are working with an API. We help them with their orders that they're getting, and we price per order. When every contract has their own, needing greedy, but all of them are like they have like a minimum monthly bill that they're going to commit to it.
Makes sense. And what's the biggest bottleneck to your growth?
Honestly, that we have too much things to develop, really endless things to develop, and it takes time to build it. So we have amazing clients, really partners that are working with us, that loves the product, that loves to pay for the product, that are excited from the future. And for us, it's like frustrating because we know the things that can develop, and it just takes time.
So if a leader of a title company is listening to this, or a leader at a mortgage origination company is listening to this, or a venture capitalist interested in funding your next round is listening to this, how should they reach out to you and your team?
And so, or on LinkedIn, just send me a message, or through my email, it's tali@dono.ai.
Tali at Dono. Now let's talk about the future. Like, what's your dream vision for the future of the housing transaction industry?
So until now, we talked only about ownerships. My gut feeling in some way is that in those records, and I can prove it, there's like, it's kind of like a hidden treasure. In those records, there's like endless of data that today you cannot access. When we are creating this infrastructure that knows how to collect and read each and every record, we are creating the ownership certainty, but we're also providing the market the ability to access this data point endless ways that I can start thinking, but the market always surprise you with their wishes. And that's what we want to do. Like, you have a question about real estate. You are a real estate investor that is looking after distressed properties, and you have a profile that you built in your head. You're looking after properties that worth like $1 million and owned by a divorced couple that got divorced in the last few months and so on. All of these data points are in the record. Write the quote, I want this and that, and we can provide you, not now, in the future, a list of all of like the relevant property. And that's only like a small example of an amazing capability that we will have because we are indexing all of the records in the States from scratch, and we have it under our hands.
Oh, the world's real estate data at your fingertips. Sounds amazing. I'd love to ask you some rapid fire questions, Tali.
Let's go. Hopefully, I have a lag. We'll do that.
Tali, what do you know about your industry or the real estate transaction space that would surprise most people?
It's the basic data point that you cannot provide me an evidence that you are the owner of your house. This evidence doesn't exist. And it's crazy. It's like the biggest asset class in your portfolio, and you cannot prove that you own it. It's blowing my mind every morning.
Indeed. If a family office calls you, Tali, and says they just had a liquidity event and they want to allocate a portion of it to real estate, let's say $100 million, how would you advise them?
I will sit with them and talk with them about goals and what they want to achieve. They want short-term, long-term. And what we can do that is super unique is to help them locate the relevant property. And that's the opportunity here. We figure out that they want distressed properties, and that's the thing that meets their thesis in some way. We can do it easy peasy.
How about your own personal real estate portfolio? How does it look like?
So I had a house, I sold it, I bought another house. Hopefully I will sell it in the next 2 years and then continue.
So it seems like you're on your second home, your primary residence.
Now in my second home, I renovated from like really the part and built it from zero. It was a very interesting experience. I'm not sure I want to do it again. I enjoyed it, but it's like super challenging. And let's see where we headed.
Yeah. What's the best financial advice you ever received, Tali?
To really care about every penny that you're spending, to think about it. Like, again, if you have a lot or does depend about how much money do you have, like care about it.
Care about every dollar spent. And it seems like you're a parent and a husband. And if your loved ones agree to be mentored by you, what's the number one skill you would teach them?
If I will go back, it's to be a horse, to work really hard and always run fast forward.
That was Tali Gross, the CEO and co-founder of Dono. He's a parent, a husband, and a horse. If you are trying to verify property ownership data, you should send him a LinkedIn message. I will include his link in the description, or you can send him an email at tally@dono.ai. This is Nik Shah. If you ever want to talk about real estate, shoot me a note on CEO at Home LLC. Thanks, everyone.